in my novel are based on the characters that a couple of girls who rode the school bus with me for, I don't know, a couple of months when I was in maybe seventh or eighth grade. They were very intriguing. They were pretty. They were smart, and they had really weird parents, like weirder than weirder parents. And they just sort of dropped off the map. They just
Oh.
disappeared.
Thank you for joining us today. We're excited you're here to meet the author of today's book. Welcome to Digital Book Nooks, Meet the Author Show, where you can discover your next great book. With your host, D.G. Thomas. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to today's Meet the Author Show. If you enjoy fiction books about family drama, secrets, and the bonds of sisterhood, you are in for a treat today. I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest author, Amy Smith Linton, who is here to discuss her book, She Taught Me Everything. A rural childhood, a lucky streak with standardized testing, and a familiarity with making ends meet helped Amy Smith Linton scramble through her undergraduate years at Cornell University. After attending the Publishing Institute at the University of Denver, she went to work at Farrar, Straus, and Giroux Books for young readers in Manhattan, where she lunched with the likes of Madeleine L'Engle, Jerry Selden, and Satoshi Kitamura. She once carried a portfolio of Maurice Sendak's original artwork uptown via subway, only belatedly realizing the risk of getting mugged during the midday lull with tens of thousands of dollars worth of irreplaceable original art tucked under one arm. After moving to Florida to spend time with her extended family, she took up a whirlwind set of part-time jobs that included hanging wallpaper, serving as a first mate on a passenger ferry, sports writing for the St. Petersburg Times and Sail magazine, and book reviewing for Publishers Weekly and the Tampa Tribune. A long stint in full-time employment included video production, adult instructional design, product development, and corporate infighting. Her short fiction has appeared in the Stone Coast Review, Halfway Down the Stairs, 433, The Dead Mule School of Southern Fiction, Rosebud, and more. When not writing, she races small sailboats with her husband, the redoubtable Jeff Linton. Her team won the World Championships in the Lightning class twice, as well as earning 6 North American titles in the Flying Scot class. She takes perhaps too much pride in being featured in an instructional sailing video entitled Taming the Spinnaker Beast. She was also once shortlisted for the U.S. Sailing Rolex Sportswoman of the Year. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to today's guest author, Amy Smith Linton. Thank you for joining us today.
Dee, thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure, and I'm really excited to hear your story today. And you have your sports story, but also about your book. She Taught Me Everything, which I want to flip through that so quick. Let me show this one more time here. It's available on Amazon. So I want to start with, it looks like you began in publishing, and then you sort of made a switch over to the author side of writing, right? So
It's true.
let's talk a little bit about what made you decide to make that shift, and maybe what some of those challenges have been for you.
I started writing when I was a kid. And when I got to college, I realized that it was probably foolish to imagine that I could become a writer and make a living. But I really, really wanted to put my fingers into working on words. And I became an editor. It was something I was kind of good at. And actually, I was a terrible speller, but you can learn how to spell. Strange but true. So I worked in publishing in New York for a while, and the pay was just painfully low. And then I went to editing less glamorous stuff. I was the editor of the Swine Quarterly for a little while.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So I'm sure this is an exciting journey right now. Is this your first book, right? Or the first you've
This
written
is my
short stories? But
this is my
yeah.
first novel to be published. I've published
Um,
some short stories. I've written a couple of books, but this is the first one that's really ready to be published.
oh, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
so what inspired you to write this story? And is any of it autobiographical?
Excellent question. Thank you for asking. Uh, yes, it is based on something in my life. I have an older sister who is charismatic and interesting. And when I was a kid, she seemed to know everything as well. However, the sisters in my novel are based on the characters that a couple of girls who rode the school bus with me for, I don't know, a couple of months when I was in maybe seventh or eighth grade. They were very intriguing. They were pretty. They were smart, and they had really weird parents, like weirder than weirder parents. And they just sort of dropped off the map. They just disappeared. And I've always wondered what happened to them and what it would have been like to be those sisters instead of one of the sisters that I was.
Huh.
So
Okay.
it's a long time. It's a long time coming. This story's been in my mind for a long time.
Okay. Well, tell us about the book She Taught Me Everything.
This is a story about sisters and about how sisters can hide the most astonishing things from each other, and they can. Sisters are you're closer with your sister in some ways than you are with anyone, even your parents. It's for most of us, it's a lifelong relationship where we might outlive our parents, but we are less likely to see whether we outlive our siblings. So that bond is very tight and very complicated, and it's that's what the story is about, that bond and what happens when the younger sister discovers that her older sister is not just hiding one or two secrets, but has been hiding the secret of their whole existence.
Wow. So, in family drama stories like this, where secrets are unveiled, what did you have like a sort of way particular to unveil those secrets? I mean, it seems like it would be kind of difficult to imply, but still keep the attention of the reader enough to be able to eventually release what that secret is. So, did you have like any sort of way that you went about doing that to write that?
Yes, in the process of writing the book, I wrote it two separate narratives: the narrative of their childhood and the narrative of their adulthood. Based at the start of the novel starts with a car accident, and so there were two parallel stories, and I told them in alternating chapters, but it was way too clunky, and so I wanted instead to sort of weave them together so that it was less. It felt more organic, and so that some of the stuff that you realize Nicola, the main character, is learning about herself. She tells the story as she's going along, taking care of her sister.
Okay. And so when we talk about the sisters and the family dynamic, and that being the central theme, what do you believe is are the most compelling elements of your character's sister relationship that would be most relatable to readers?
That's an excellent question as well. I think what's most relatable, I think everyone has like that eye roll moment when you talk about sisters. Oh, my sister. We love our sisters so much, and yet they can also drive you right around the bend. As I'm speaking from my sister's living room, by the way. She's in the other room. I have to. But I think that's the that's the universal moment. But the other half of what was the other half of your question? I've forgotten already.
How are their relationship relatable? How can a reader relate to them? So I think you're touching on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Having a sister or watching the sister relationship. I have a guy friend of mine read it, said, "Oh, I know know these sisters. I'm married to one of them.
Okay. So can you share a particular, without giving away too much, but can you share a particular scene or a moment from the book that you found that was emotionally charged or challenging to write?
Uh, well, probably the most emotionally charged scene is the last scene, which I won't read. It's would change the reading experience as it's
Right.
the culmination of the whole story. Some of it, I think there's a scene where the girls are alone in a farmhouse as children, and the older sister gets Nicola's attention and says to her, "What if our parents don't come back?"
Mm,
And of course, the younger sister doesn't want to think this, and the older sister pushes her to think about it, and it's slightly torturous in the way that sometimes older sisters will tell you some hard truths about the world. It was
mm,
actually hard to write that because it hurt still, like that little like, why are you making why is the older sister making the younger one go through this experience that's painful
right, I
for no
bet.
particular reason? You know, the parents returned at that point.
Okay. Sounds very interesting. So, um, let's switch though from the story to the publishing process, right? So, did you have, with this being your first published full novel like this, did you have any surprises during that publishing process?
Yes, because I worked in publishing, I felt pretty confident that I would be able to have a traditional publishing deal. I
Yeah.
felt like I knew my way through the process, and I had still some connections in the publishing world,
Mm,
and it didn't work out as I expected.
really?
So I had an agent, a very impressive Manhattan agent, and it was very painful when we had
Mm,
to part company. I had to let her go, and it was kind of
wow.
awful.
Yeah. I
So I
bet.
ended up, the good plus side is that I ended up forming my own publishing firm and
Mhm.
publishing it myself.
Well, and you have a lot of work background experience in it. So, a lot of people who self-publish kind of go in this just kind of feeling blindly and figuring it out along the way. But at least you do have that background in publishing experience. Have you found that to be of a lot of help?
Yes, it was helpful. It did not make it any easier, particularly.
Yeah.
I I'm, I'm very grateful for many YouTubers for helping me figure this out.
Mm, yeah. So, what have you
The
found to be the most challenging aspect of publishing the book?
I think whatever I just finished last at any point in this process, uh, I wrestled. I like full on Dusty Roads wrestled with trying to get the electronic format right.
Oh, yeah.
I have of course Kindle, which was pretty
Hmm.
easy.
Hmm.
iBooks, which was fairly easy. I had
Hmm.
Kobo, which was just a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted Kobo because it's Overdrive. So if anyone is at the library, they can use Overdrive to get to my a copy of my book electronically. And then
Mm,
Nook from Bible. And
mhm.
Nook and Kobo really got on my last nerve for electronic publishing. It might be something that I would think about doing outsourcing next time.
Yeah. And have you done the whole the paperback and the hardcover on Amazon? Because even those, like the
Yes,
cover can be different on the hardcover from the paperback. Yeah, it's a pain.
yeah, I did. It is. It is. I
Yeah.
did a paperback through Ingram Spark as well
Mm,
as through Amazon, so that people at bookstores can order it through Ingram Spark. Um,
right.
and the covers are like, I don't know, a millimeter different
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the ah, but it matters.
Yeah. It does. All right. So, are you working on any other projects, or what's next for you as an author?
I am. I am. As we're talking, it's almost the beginning of November, so it's. I'm sure your listeners know about NaNoWriMo, which is the
Hmm.
National
Hmm.
Novel Writing Month. Is that all there
Right.
is? National Novel Writing Month.
Right.
And it starts November 1st. I'm hoping to finish up a project that I've had on hold for
Mhm.
about a year. And
Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right. So that's all the questions that I have today. I want to show your book.
because
Yeah.
I'm all out of answers.
No, you. That's all I wanted to give our audience a chance to take a look at your book again, and it's available at Amazon, and then also you said Kobo and someplace else, but but we can go to amysmithlinton.com to find out all the ways to be able to access the book. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. All right. And everyone, thank you so much for watching today's show. Be sure to visit the Digital Book Nook blog today to read the rest of our interview with Amy. Thank you again and have a great day.